Hello there. What is going on, everybody? Today I'm going to be doing an Armada build using Arquitens because Arquitens are my favorite ship, and I haven't done one in a while, and I've seen some people actually ask about Arquitens lately. So I figured we'd just kind of talk about Arquitens a little bit, do a build with them, and do something a little risky, a little dangerous, and have a little fun with it. I am going to be using Ryan Kingston's Fleet Builder. This has actually been updated lately with all of the cards for the Super Star Destroyer. So I'll put a link to that down in the description below. Also, speaking of links in the description below, my t-shirt store is on sale. So if you click on my store, my t-shirt store, whatever, there's a bunch of t-shirts that are on sale for the next couple of days. So if you're looking to pick up like an Armada shirt, or X-Wing shirt, a Legion shirt, or whatever, there's some of those down there. I'm probably going to start working on some more t-shirt designs in the near future, so I'm also open to suggestions for that. And also, I know I talk about giveaways all the time. There is a new round of the giveaway going on right now where you can win the Star Wars Celebration exclusive Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Hasbro Star Wars Black Series. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. All right. With all of that admin stuff out of the way, let's jump into this build. Arquitens. We're going to start off with an Arquitens class cruiser, right? Great ship. I love this ship. The thing is, I think it has a little bit of a learning curve because of the way it flies. It usually flies straight, and it can do a little turn on the end. Some people aren't crazy about its relative lack of mobility. My general view on them is that they kind of fly in circles. You kind of go up and then turn a little bit, and then go up and turn a little bit, and then go up and then turn a little bit and go here. So, which is perfect because their broadsides are really where they're strongest, right? I should have worn my broadsides shirt. I have a broadsides shirt in the t-shirt store. You can, but it's got Rebel ships on it, so I probably need to make an Arquitens shirt. That's probably what I should do. All right, so why do I like these guys so much? Well, because I feel like they're strongest to fly with their broadsides continually facing the opponent. Additionally, they're best suited for that because they have their 3 red dice at long range out of their side arc, and they have a pretty sizable side arc. They're also pretty cheap, and so it's like as many dice as a Victory Star Destroyer, as many dice as certain types of ISDs at long range for a fraction of the price. So if you're able to keep your opponent at long range, you can get a lot of dice on them. Red dice are very fickle, but we're getting more tricks to improve red dice. So that's kind of what I'm going to start off with. Now, in the past, before I jump into the build too much, I want to do some explanation because there's a couple of different schools of thought, but basically what I do when I run lots of Arquitens is I do turbo laser upgrades is pretty much almost always mandatory on most of the fleet, but not necessarily all of them. So, a popular one that some people like to run is turbo laser reroute circuits. The risk here is that you've only got the one evade, so you may need to use that for defense. However, the benefit for turbo laser reroute circuits is tremendous because you can turn a blank into a double. So that's just huge, especially in any Arquitens list that doesn't run Vader. I used to run Vader a lot, but sometimes people want to try something different with Arquitens, like maybe Jerjerrod, who gives them great mobility, turns them into a terribly immobile ship into an incredibly mobile ship. So so this is a good option there because now you're covering all your bases. You have good attack and good mobility, and you're still relatively cheap. So that's a kind of a cool one, but I am not going to run that. I have sometimes run quad battery turrets. Quad battery turrets gives you an extra die for all of your attacks. So if you get that front and side attack, that's cool. It gives you a blue die, but it's very, it all depends on somebody else going faster than you, so you might not get anything out of it. So, but again, it's also fairly cheap, so for the price, it's actually not half bad. Some folks will also suggest running slaved turrets because you may only get the one side shot. And the problem I have with that is that's even more expensive than quad battery turrets, and you're limiting yourself to only one shot. So I really don't like slaved turrets very much. I'm just not a big fan of slaved turrets. There's very, very few cases I want to hard restrict myself to only one attack. So I'm going to pass on slave turrets. I like to run enhanced armament. Now, this is very expensive, and so this is kind of why I say this is risky. I'm going to be running enhanced armament on all of my Arquitens in this build. And you're like, well, dude, it's 10 points. And I'm like, yes, it is 10 points, but here's the thing. It's always going to go off. Well, I mean, provided I have a side shots, but I'm gonna have side shots. You're just gonna. I'm gonna deploy my guys sideways. So when you're up here, so I'm gonna have side shots, and I'm gonna go this way, and I'm gonna turn a little bit to kind of keep you. I'm just gonna fly and try to circular strafe you. I'm always gonna have side shots. Sometimes I'll have 2 side shots. It does happen. It doesn't happen all the time, but on the times that it doesn't, I'll have a side shot and maybe a front shot also, or a side shot and a rear shot. So I'm still going to have those. So I'm still going to get those other dice also. So I'm going to get my extra die from this, and then I'm going to also have a front shot. In those cases, quad battery turrets could be better because again, you're getting a die for every attack. It's a blue die too, so no blanks on it, which is potentially great. But I'm foregoing that for the red die, kind of the guarantee, because I want to have 4 dice at least. And then if I concentrate fire, which is one of my favorite commands to run with Arquitens, then I'm looking at 5 red dice at long range for only 64 points each. So when I start going like boom, 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 run 4 Arquitens all of a sudden, and that's what we're going to do. Yeah, I've got, it's only 256 points already, but I've got a lot of dice. If they all concentrate fire, that's 20 red dice in a turn. It's pretty significant. Now, I've used to run stuff like this, and to make the points work, sometimes I'd drop enhanced armament off of 1 or 2 of them. Maybe my flagship wouldn't have it, so it would kind of confuse the opponent. On well, do I go for the flagship? But that's the one that doesn't even have enhanced armament, so I'm not really taking out that big of a, just to kind of play mind games a little bit. I feel like balancing the scales, keeping each ship, a relative threat. Has been interesting for me. But here I'm going to give everybody enhanced armament. Now, when you're going enhanced armament, you have to keep in mind you've got nothing for rerolls. Another thing I used to also do is for officers. I used to really like this guy right here. Hold on, we're getting to him. Intel officer. So what I used to run is I used to run Vader and Intel officer. And I would run Intel officer on a lot of my Arquitens. But the problem is Intel officer is 7 points. He's very expensive. Vader as a commander is giving you rerolls, so that's cool. And you got the defense token. So Arquitens are very good for Vader. They generally are. This type of fleet with Vader is awesome. The Intel officer is going to make those attacks. You can roll away the accuracies even if you need, because then you can just exhaust. You're going to exhaust Intel officer if your initial roll is good enough, and just say, okay, good. You're not going to brace this turn, or if you do, it's gone. So you can kind of, this is great for that opening round of fire when they're like, oh, he rolled, 2 doubles and then 2 singles, on your long range attack, but that's 60. I'll just brace it to 3. Oh, you sure you want to burn that brace on the very first shot of the game? And that's one of those reasons why enhanced armament is so nice here, because you got rerolls and all that stuff. So what I'm changing from my formula is I'm changing this build up to, we're not going to use Vader, and we're going to save points on Intel Officer because we're going to use Palpatine. We're going to use Palpatine. So if we look at Palpatine, after deploying fleets, place 1 defense token of each type on this ship card. At the start of the ship phase, you may discard 1 of these tokens. If you do until the end of the round, if an enemy ship or squadron spends a matching token during its spend defense token step, discard that token. So what this is doing is it's kind of giving you a version of Intel Officer for everybody, which is pretty cool. Now, and it also works for squadrons. And the thing is, it also works for all of the attacks. So if you're able to roll 2 attacks, if you're able to double arc somebody as well, it's going to work for those attacks as well, which is very useful. But at the same time, it's also only going to work for certain other things. So what this does, though, is this frees up the officer slot, because this would have been 28 points just for Intel Officer on all of these guys, right? And again, this would be, if I ran a 5th Arquitens, it would work there. This would be really a great commander to have in a much larger battle. Like if you're going to a 600 or or a 1200 point battle or something like that, Palpatine would be extremely good in a battle like that. In this one, you can make the argument that Intel Officer is more efficient, and I get that. Go for Vader, get your rerolls that way. Well, I'm going to get rerolls a different way. So I'm going to add another ship in here. I'm going to add a Gazanti. Now this is going to give us our 5th activation. And on this Gazanti, we're going to put Darth Vader as an officer. He's only 1 point. And so this way, we're going to put Darth Vader on here, and we'll be able to put officers on all of our other ships. We can get officer benefits from them. We can also choke out the officers for Darth Vader. So on our flagship, and so this is where we're getting to use different mechanics that come with the SSD here. Again, it's risky, but we're really kind of going for like that perfect scenario. And the cool thing is, the other cool thing is, Intel Officer works differently than Palpatine. The mechanics do. If I were to roll maybe all blanks, maybe I wouldn't want to exhaust Intel Officer on that first shot. Maybe I'd save it for the second shot. But then maybe I re-roll with Vader, or I do my re-roll, and then I get like the great stuff, but I didn't exhaust Intel Officer, because you have to exhaust Intel Officer as soon as you roll. With Palpatine, like if I've chosen Brace on a turn that I think I'm going to get a lot of shots on, especially an early turn, Brace is a really good early turn card. It doesn't matter if I'm free to re-roll at will. I don't have to make any decisions when it comes to decisions. I'm pronouncing words differently today. I don't have to make any decisions right away when it comes to that, because whatever attack I end up rolling, even after re-rolls, the Palpatine effect is still in effect. So it removes any mistakes that you might make. So when it comes to officers, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add another Superstar Destroyer officer here, and that's going to be Commander Garant. If I can find him, he's in here somewhere, I promise you. Let's see, Garant. There he is. Okay, so Garant is kind of cool, and so I'm going to put him on the flagship. He's kind of hard to read here, but basically, while you're defending, the attacker can't resolve critical effects. Period. Done. Ultimate defense. If you need to keep Palp alive, maybe you just don't attack with him for a while. And this is a judgment call you're going to make. Of course, after you attack a ship, you're going to have to discard Commander Garant. And the key here is this guy works perfectly with Vader. First off, he's a really, really great shield. All of those critical effects, Demolisher can't come in and just snipe your Palpatine and get those extra crits. Dodonna stuff isn't going to work. All of that stuff isn't going to work. Also, all of those maybe victories with disposable capacitors and heavy ion emplacements, all that stuff, not going to work on your flagship. So it really helps protect Palpatine until you're ready to shoot. And in theory, I would kind of probably keep this one maybe a little bit farther back. But in this case, you could potentially put it a little farther forward as well. Tempt people into shooting Palpatine without being able to use any of their critical effects. Here's the risk, though, is that when you go to shoot, you either say, I'm not going to attack, or I'll finally attack now and let's go. Here's what's going to happen. Because you have to get rid of Garant after you attack, you can choke him out with Vader during your attack, and then give you all the rerolls you're going to want. The only really bad situation here is if you roll perfectly on your first on your attack, and to where you didn't want to choke Vader. That's where it kind of was like, oh darn. I guess another kind of bad scenario is if you roll like a single blank, but everything else is good. You roll like double, and a hit, and a crit, and a blank with your concentrate fire, and you're like, oh, I've got a single blank. I gotta choke Garant out for a single die reroll, because he's gonna go away anyway. So you definitely want to choke him out. Everybody else, we can kind of change it up a little bit. We don't have to. We're not totally locked into that. So for our other officers, the idea here is you want cheap officers. So when you look at these officers, you've got some other options. You can go with Ozzel if you want to have a speed 1 move right away. That can help you reposition too, because the speed 1 move, they're going to get the 2 clicks. You could go with Titus. They're cheap. The 2-point officers are really good, but it doesn't matter what the cost of the officer is. So I'm actually going to go with Skilled First Officer on all the rest of these. So let's go ahead and duplicate. So now we've got 3 Arquitens with Skilled First Officer and Enhanced Armament. Now the Skilled First Officer, I'll admit, before you relearn a command, you may discard this card to discard your top command dial. It's useful against slicer tools. It definitely is. But, it's also useful against you picked a completely terrible command and you didn't need. But usually that's not the case. Usually it's a really good defense against slicer tools or things like that, effects like that, or maybe that critical that lets somebody change your top command dial. You can use that to get rid of it. But in this case, it pulls double duty as being really cheap food for Vader. So Vader's like, you thought you were skilled, but you wore a goatee to formation, and you were not supposed to wear a goatee on the bridge of this ship, dude. I told you 5 times already. And facial hair is not permitted in the 501st, so you've got to go. I don't even know if that's true. I'm just making things up now. My point is, Vader's going to come up with some reason to choke this guy out, giving you all the rerolls you want. Now, with these guys, you can wait. If you've got just the 1 blank and everything else is good, then maybe Vader says, no, you know what, you rolled fairly well. I'm not going to choke you out for rerolls. So you have some option, you have some flexibility here. Enhanced armament, you're going to have a lot of, concentrate fire, 5 red dice. If you get at least 2 blanks, I think it's worth choking them out for that. Especially if this attack is against a ship that has, a defense token they'd likely use that you've triggered Palpatine at the start of the round. So, again, if you chose brace and you're attacking that ISD with 1 brace, okay, you don't even need the accuracies at this point. You just fish for those double hits, fish for as much damage as you can, force them to spend that brace, and now it's gone for the rest of the game. Not even that for the other turns, but for all your other Arquitens that are still going to shoot. That first shot, you really want to tempt them into using their brace. And one of the things I love with something like this, my first Arquitens attacks your ISD. I don't care that you have ECM on there, because I'm not going to spend an accuracy to stop you from using it. I'm going to spend Palpatine to punish you if you use it no matter what. So I roll and I spend my concentrate fire. I get, I've got 6 damage. I got 2 doubles, but then just a hit and a crit. And a blank maybe even, but it's like, that's 6 damage. Oh, are you going to take all that damage and save your brace? Or, what are you going to do? And they say, you know what? Okay, that's fine. I'll just take it all. I won't even spend the brace. And you're like, fine. And then on your other ones, you just attack other targets so that, and just to mess with them. And just, like, you didn't even need the brace. You didn't even need to save it for the next shot because, again, that type of thing is funny. It's funny mind games you play with your opponent with this sort of thing, but you can really drive people crazy with this many red dice. Plus, now you have rerolls. Now, we are only at 320 points. Again, you could add another Arquitens. You're at 385. That'd be fun. You have enough points to maybe squeeze some TIE fighters in here. You could drop a Gazanti if you really needed to, but we're going to put a decent little squad thread in here because I kind of want this to be somewhat balanced. Somewhat. Not like super balanced, but somewhat balanced. So we're going to add some squadrons, and I'm going to start off with Bosk. Bosk is one of my favorites. Bosk is just amazing, right? He's rolling a lot. He's really good for anti-squadron. He's pretty good for anti-ship too, and if he gets damaged, he gets a free accuracy on every attack, which means he'd actually have 3 attack dice against a ship, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. And he's got grit, so he's kind of hard to tie down. He's got rogue, so I don't have to micromanage him. I don't have to be running squadron commands. Remember how I said I like to do concentrate fire commands? Maybe on the first round of the game I'll do a squadron command, right? Because I'm going to have Dengar in here too. I might want to activate Dengar with a squadron command. I may want to do that. So maybe on the first round I'll have a couple of my ships take a squadron command, just bank a token for that sort of thing, just in case. But, I'm okay with that. And I think I'm going to round this out with 2 fire sprays. We'll go with generic fire sprays, and it's going to bring me at 399. Now these generic fire sprays, they have rogue and they have bomber. They're just good all around. They're moderately good against squadrons, but they're really good against ships. You want to be taking them against ships. Dengar is going to facilitate that. Dengar is going to allow you to maybe just leave Bosk next to some other squadrons, tying them up, saying, come on, come at me. Come at me. And then as soon as they finally say, fine, we'll attack Bosk, then you fly Dengar back in and then free up Bosk to fly away and start attacking ships, with the accuracy. There's some options here. You can, and because you've got a couple of names, guys, and you've got Dengar and you're giving everybody counter, you can hold off, even a swarmy build. You can hold off a bunch of other squadrons and hold your own and do well, or just ignore them completely and allow Dengar to let Bosk and your fire sprays harass enemy ships, which are already going to be very weakened by all of this red dice with rerolls that are coming at them. The big weakness here is you only get 1 reroll, though. Vader's only going to give you that reroll 1 time. Well, technically 2 times on the command ship, because once you've gone through the big stuff, like once you've already gotten rid of brace and redirect, against maybe ISDs, and let's say contain for, you save contain for later once the shields are already down. Once you've already spent him for all of those, you might not care about the other ones. All right, so then you may just choke out Palpatine at some point, because you can choke out your commander as well. So, and your opponent's not gonna, your opponent's not gonna get the points for that, unless of course they kill the ship anyway. But you might not need Palpatine anymore beyond that point. So you do have a second reroll technically for this one, but that is kind of how it's looking now for objectives. Let's go ahead and jump into our objectives. So for our assault objective, because I do have a Gazanti that's going to be mostly naked, I'm going to put Most Wanted on here. Most Wanted is just a really good, I think it's really good for, generally when you have a flotilla that's pretty bare bones, I like to run Most Wanted. It's also going to give me an extra die, so it's going to let my Arquitens all potentially roll 6 dice at long range against your biggest ship. That's just something absolutely gorgeous, taking a 65-point ship and rolling 6 dice. And then you also can attack again if you're able to double arc, and freaking if we go against a Super Star Destroyer here, right? First off, they wouldn't choose Most Wanted, almost certainly not. But I mean, let's just say they did. I could easily double arc them with an Arquitens, and I could roll 12 dice. No, 11 dice, because Concentrate Fire I'd only be able to use once. 11 dice from an Arquitens. Oh, and by the way, you can't spend any of those braces because I used Palpatine. So you're going to have to take all that damage, which is probably going to be more than 11 damage if I got rerolls with Vader, right? So, just absolutely insane. All right, so we're definitely going with Most Wanted. They're not going to choose it. And that's ideally what you want. Now, for yellow, I'm leaning towards fire lanes. This is going to allow me to dictate where the battle takes place, and that's very important for a formation that wants to circular strafe. Fire lanes, I'll put them all together. Make sure you have to come this way. You have to point your ships, fly this direction if you want to score points. And, I can play very defensively here, and I can just say, I'm just going to rack up, 45 points every turn until you come into my kill box. And then we're going to start triggering Palpatine and Vader and rerolls and just blowing your ships up one by one as they come in. So usually people don't pick that one. Although if they have a bunch of, strategic squadrons, they might pick that one. But that's what Bosk and Dengar and all that stuff is for as well. And then for navigation, I think I'm going to go with Solar Corona. That's just going to hurt them. And Solar Corona will probably, my guess is they'll choose Solar Corona. Depending, Solar Corona or Fire Lanes, depending on the build. The only time somebody's going to choose Most Wanted in this case is if they do have a MSU build, like if they got a whole bunch of CR90s or a whole bunch of Raiders, and it doesn't matter that much to them, and they're hoping to keep that one objective ship just in the rear, and because they don't like Fire Lanes or Solar Corona. That's generally the way I imagine that most people will kind of approach these objectives. But either way, it's still good for you. And if you want to change this build up a little bit, you could drop one of those skilled officers and upgrade them to one of the 2-point officers that are out there, like Hondo or Ozzel or somebody like that. You could do that too. You could free up a lot more points if you dropped enhanced armament off of maybe one ship too. You might not need enhanced armament on every single ship. You could even, you know what? Let's just be a little creative. We'll take one, and you could drop and put turbo laser reroute circuits on one and give it Nita. And now you can, fire with impunity. And you just freed up 2 extra points in your list. I'm not going to do that, though, because I am going for maximum. I'm going for luck here. Whoa, I just duplicated. Boom. There we go. All right. Yeah, I'm going for luck, really, with this build. I'm hoping that I can get those rerolls and end up with, all doubles. And I've denied you use of your brace. Or you've already braced because this other guy already shot you and you spent your brace. And you've got more doubles coming in. So just a kind of a fun build. Let me know what you guys think in the description below. And there it is. There it is, folks. So that is the list. Check out Ryan Kingston's Fleet Builder. It's a fun builder. I really like the visual interface and being able to see what's going on. And hopefully we'll get some Armada news very, very soon. Hopefully before the end of May. We've got not a whole lot of time until Gen Con. Looks like I will be at Gen Con again this year. So if I'm probably demoing Armada again like usual. We'll have a lot more to talk about this year, though. The SSD should be out by then. The campaign should be out by then. Hopefully we'll have a bigger demo table, and we'll have an SSD on the table to come actually play, maybe early pre-order pickup or maybe early sale of SSDs. Who knows? All right, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you guys so much for watching. And don't forget to click some of the links down below if you're interested in joining my Patreon. We have giveaways going on for that all the time. The shirt store is on sale right now. All that, and all the social media links, all that stuff is down there. So check it all out. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.